This man used to be in the military of Equatorial Guinea and retired with the rank of colonel. However, his wife betrayed him, cheating on him with Baltasar Ngonga. This deeply hurt this man to the point that he wanted to kill Baltasar Ngonga.
I am Colonel Obiang MBA, a retired officer of the Equatorial Guinea Army. I served my country with unwavering loyalty for over 30 years, rising through the ranks, leading men into battle, and protecting the sovereignty of our nation. I have faced ambushes, political betrayals, and enemies plotting in the shadows. But in the end, it was not war or politics that broke me, it was my own wife and a man named Baltasar Ngonga. I met Maria Esperanza when I was still a young officer in my 30s. She was beautiful, intelligent, and full of life. When I looked at her, I saw a future, a home, a family, a woman who would stand by my side through life storms. I married her, believing we would grow old together. For the first decade, everything seemed perfect. We built a family, raised our children, and lived comfortably. She was my queen, and I made sure she had everything she desired, a luxury, status, security. In return, I expected only one thing, loyalty. But over the years, there were warning signs I, like a fool, ignored. Maria always loved attention. Even when I gave her everything, it was never enough. When I was away on military assignments, she surrounded herself with admirers, always enjoying the company of men who flattered her. She dismissed them as just friends, and I, trusting her, let it go. What a mistake that was. Around 2022, I started hearing rumors about a man named Baltasar Ngonga. He was not just an ordinary playboy, he was a predator, a man who thrived on seducing the wives of the rich and powerful. He had money, charm, and influence, but his greatest weapon was his ability to manipulate women. It was said that Baltasar had been with over 200 women, most of them married. But he didn't just sleep with them, he recorded everything. He kept these videos as trophies, sometimes using them for blackmail, sometimes just for his own twisted pleasure. I had heard whispers of military officers and politicians who had fallen victim to his games. Their marriages destroyed, their reputations ruined. I had even mocked them in private, thinking, how could a man allow his wife to be taken by another? I never imagined that one day, I would be one of them. One evening, as I sat in my office reviewing intelligence reports, I received an anonymous message on my phone. Colonel, go watch your wife. She is meeting Baltasar Ngonga in secret. At first, I refused to believe it. Maria had been my wife for 25 years. She was the mother of my children. How could she betray me? But the soldier in me told me to investigate. And so, I began watching her. She had become secretive, taking long phone calls in private, dressing up more often, and going out late at night with weak excuses. One evening, she told me she was visiting a sick cousin. My instincts told me otherwise. So, I followed her. She did not go to her cousin's house. She went to a luxury hotel in Malabo. I parked outside and waited. My heart pounded as I tried to tell myself, maybe it's nothing. But deep down, I knew the truth. After 2 hours, she walked out of the hotel with Baltasar Ngonga. They laughed. She touched his arm like a young girl in love. My wife, my Maria, had become just another one of his conquests. I gripped the steering wheel so hard I thought it might break. I wanted to confront them right there, to put a bullet in Baltasar's head. But I held back. A soldier does not act on emotion. I needed proof. That night, I returned home early. I found Maria sitting on our bed, scrolling through her phone. I remained calm. I asked her how her cousin was. She lied to my face, telling me everything was fine. When she left the room, I checked her phone. She had forgotten to lock it. I opened her messages, and there it was, evidence of her affair. Texts from Baltasar. Explicit photos. Even a short video of them together in the hotel room. My vision blurred. My hands shook. It was not just betrayal, it was humiliation. I stood in the doorway, staring at her. She saw my expression and froze. "Tell me the truth, Maria," I said, my voice cold and calm. She denied it at first, but when I showed her the messages and the video, she broke down in tears. She begged, she swore it was a mistake, that she still loved me. But there are some things a man can never forgive. I gave her 1 hour to pack her things and leave my house. She cried, she pleaded, she even tried to touch my arm like she did with Baltasar. But I did not respond. A soldier may forgive an enemy, I told her, but never a traitor in his own home. Betrayal is a complex thing. A man who has faced war and politics learns never to trust too easily, but in marriage, trust is the foundation. Looking back, I can now see some possible reasons why Maria Esperanza betrayed me. Maria had always been a woman who enjoyed attention. She loved admiration, compliments, and the excitement of being desired. Perhaps, after 25 years of marriage, she craved something new, something dangerous. Baltasar in Ganga was a charming, a notorious playboy, known for his way with women. Maybe she was drawn to the thrill, the idea of being wanted by a man who had seduced so many. Some women confuse lust with love, and perhaps she thought sleeping with a man like Baltasar made her feel young again. As a military officer, I spent years away from home, on missions, in meetings, and handling security matters. My country demanded my time, and I gave it willingly. But while I was busy serving my nation, I may have neglected my role as a husband. Maria may have felt lonely, abandoned, and in her weakness, she sought comfort elsewhere. But does this justify her betrayal? No. A loyal wife communicates. A traitor seeks pleasure in another man's bed. Baltasar in Ganga was wealthy, connected, and known for his extravagant lifestyle. Though I provided my wife with everything she needed, perhaps she was tempted by the illusion of more. Some women are never satisfied, always chasing a better life, more excitement, more luxury. But she was foolish. Baltasar did not love her, she was just another conquest, another video on his list. At the end of the day, the real reason for her betrayal is simple: she lacked honor and loyalty. A woman who truly respects her husband, her home, and the life they built together does not betray him, no matter the temptation. She had everything, a home, a family, security, but she threw it all away for a moment of pleasure with a worthless man. A strong man can accept his own mistakes. Perhaps I was too distant, too focused on my duties. But a strong man also knows when he has been betrayed by someone who never truly valued him. She made her choice. And so, I made mine. I removed her from my life. A soldier does not live with traitors. Baltasar in Ganga's arrest and release was a moment that tested every fiber of discipline I had left. When I first heard he had been taken into custody, I felt a sense of cold satisfaction. Justice, I thought, was finally catching up to him. But in Equatorial Guinea, power moves in shadows and whispers. A man like Baltasar, with his wealth and connections, it was not easy to keep locked up. Within days, he was out walking free, as if nothing had happened. I won't lie, when I heard the news, rage burned inside me. After everything he had done, after humiliating powerful men, corrupting families, and turning wives into his playthings, how could he walk away so easily? The truth is, I didn't accept it, but I understood it. I have spent my life in the military, where I learned one undeniable truth: justice is not always served in courts or police stations. True justice moves quietly, beyond paperwork and handcuffs. Baltasar may have been released, but that did not mean he was safe. Men like him believe they are untouchable, but they always make enemies in high places, enemies far more dangerous than they realize. After his release, Baltasar tried to return to his usual life, thinking he had escaped consequences once again. But something was different. His business partners abandoned him. His name became poison in powerful circles. He lost his influence, his protection. One by one, the doors started closing for him. His enemies had grown in number, and this time, there was no escape. Then, one day, he simply disappeared. No one knows where he went. Some say he fled the country. Others whisper that he was dealt with in a more permanent way. But I do not concern myself with rumors. I did not need to seek revenge myself. In a world like ours, men like Baltasar always meet their fate one way or another. Maria Esperanza begged me for forgiveness. She cried, pleaded, and swore that she had made a mistake. She tried to convince me that it was just a moment of weakness, that she still loved me, that she regretted everything. At first, she sent messages every day, apologizing and asking to talk. Then she started calling, leaving voicemails filled with tears and desperation. When I ignored her, she tried to reach me through our children, hoping they would soften my heart. One evening, she even came to my house unannounced, standing outside in the rain, begging me to let her in. Please, Obiang, she sobbed. Don't throw away everything we built. I was foolish. I was weak. But I love you. Let me come home. I stood at the door watching her. I saw the woman I had spent 25 years with, the mother of my children, the woman I once believed was my partner in everything. But I also saw a traitor, a woman who had willingly betrayed my trust, my honor, and our vows. I remained silent for a long time, then finally spoke. You threw everything away the moment you stepped into his bed, I said. Now you must live with that choice. I closed the door and never looked back. A soldier does not take back a traitor. A woman who betrays once will betray again. Maria was dead to me that night. There were rumors that Baltasar in Ganga left for France, claiming he needed medical treatment for his child. But in this world, I have learned one thing: never believe the first story you hear. A man like Baltasar, who had made so many enemies, did not just disappear because of a sick child. It is possible that he fled under the cover of a personal crisis, knowing that staying in Equatorial Guinea was no longer safe for him. Some say he was warned that certain people gave him a choice: live quietly, or face a different kind of fate. Others believe that his connections saved him one last time, helping him escape before things got worse. Whatever the truth is, one fact remains: he is gone. He may be in France or somewhere else, but his days of walking freely and playing his games in our country are over. And that, for me, is enough. The government's decision to release Baltasar in Ganga was not surprising to me. In Equatorial Guinea, as in many places, justice is not always about guilt or innocence, it is about power, influence, then connections. Here are the real reasons I believe he was released. Baltasar was not just an ordinary man, he was connected to high-ranking officials, businessmen, and possibly even government figures. A man who had been involved with over 200 women, many of them wives of influential people, had leverage. He may have threatened to expose certain people if they did not help him. He may have used his hidden recordings as blackmail. Someone in power may have intervened to protect their own interests. He was more useful alive than behind bars. Some men are too dangerous to be left free, but too valuable to be eliminated completely. The government may have seen Baltasar as a man with information, someone who could be useful if handled correctly. Instead of keeping him in prison, they may have cut a deal. Disappear quietly, and we won't come after you. Give us information, and we'll let you go. Fear of exposure. Baltasar was a walking scandal. If he had been tried in court, more secrets would have come out, secrets about high-ranking officials, military officers, and businessmen whose wives had been in his bed. The government may have released him to avoid a bigger political crisis. He was no longer a threat. By the time he was arrested, Baltasar had already lost everything. His businesses collapsed. His reputation was destroyed. His enemies were watching him closely. The government may have decided that there was no need to keep him locked up, he was already a broken man. Final thought. Baltasar walked out of prison, but he did not walk out as the same powerful man he once was. He may be free in France or somewhere else, but he is a man in exile, living in fear, knowing that his past will always follow him. A man like him never truly escapes. He is simply waiting for the day his past catches up with him. Forgiveness. A man like me does not give forgiveness cheaply, especially not for betrayal. Maria did not just make a mistake. She did not simply fall into temptation. She chose to betray me. She planned it, she lied to my face, then she shared herself with another man, a man who is known for humiliating and destroying families. For me to forgive her, it would take something beyond mere words and tears. It would take actions, and even then, I do not know if I could ever see her as my wife again. What would it take for me to even consider forgiving her? She would have to truly suffer for what she did. Not just cry and apologize, but truly feel the weight of her betrayal. She would have to lose everything, her comfort, her security, her status. She would have to experience true regret, not just regret because she got caught. She would have to prove her loyalty in a way that cannot be faked. Words mean nothing. Crocodile tears do not heal wounds. She would have to cut all ties with Baltasar and never look at another man again. She would have to earn back my respect, and that is far harder than earning back love. She would have to accept that things will never be the same. Even if I forgave her, I would never trust her the same way again. She would have to live knowing that she destroyed something sacred, and no amount of effort can fully restore what was broken. But here is the truth. Even if she did all of this, even if she cried until the rivers dried up, even if she begged until her voice was gone, I do not think I could ever take her back. Because in my world, loyalty is everything. And once a person shows they can betray you, how can you ever sleep peacefully beside them again? Some betrayals can be forgiven, but they can never be forgotten. And if a man cannot forget, he can never truly love the same way again. I first met Maria Esperanza in 1996 when I was a young officer in the Equatorial Guinea Army stationed in Malabo. I was in my early 30s, disciplined, ambitious, and fully committed to my military career. At that time, I had little interest in romance. I was focused on duty, strategy, and rising through the ranks. Our first meeting. It was at a formal military event, a gathering of government officials, officers, and influential families. Maria was there as a guest, accompanying her older cousin, who was married to a high-ranking official. She was beautiful, with a presence that commanded attention. She was elegant, well-spoken, and confident, something I found intriguing. Unlike many women at the event who were interested in status and wealth, Maria seemed different. She was intelligent, engaging, and had a sharp sense of humor. That night, we spoke for hours. She was curious about my life as a soldier, fascinated by my experiences, my discipline, and my commitment to my country. She told me about her dreams, her family, and her belief in strong, honorable men. I remember thinking, this is a woman who understands respect and loyalty. The beginning of our love. After that night, we started seeing each other more often. I would visit her family, take her to quiet dinners, and sometimes even share small moments in my military quarters. She was everything I wanted, loyal, strong, and supportive. In 1998, after 2 years of courtship, I married her, believing she would be my partner for life. For a long time, she was. We built a home, raised children, and created a life together. But some people change, and some never truly show who they are until it is too late. Looking back now, when I think about that first night in 1996, I wonder, was she ever truly loyal? Or was she always drawn to powerful men, waiting for a chance to trade stability for excitement? I will never know. And perhaps it is better that way. After our wedding in 1998, Maria and I built a life together that seemed perfect on the surface. I was deeply committed to my work in the military, rising through the ranks, handling delicate operations, and ensuring our country's safety. But even with all that, I made sure to provide for her and our family. We lived comfortably, she had what she needed, our children had everything, and I thought we were happy. In the beginning, we were partners in every sense of the word. She was supportive of my career, often attending official events and being there when I returned from long trips. There was a respect in our relationship, the mutual understanding of duty and loyalty. We built a strong family, and for years, everything seemed in its place. But there were small cracks, things I didn't see at first. Maria had always loved being the center of attention. She was charming, beautiful, and sought admiration from others. It didn't bother me in the beginning. After all, she was my wife, and I trusted her. Her social life was filled with friends and acquaintances, many of whom were men, and I never thought much of it. I had been taught to never question loyalty, and I kept trusting her. As the years passed, I noticed Maria was becoming more independent, taking more trips on her own, spending more time with her friends, and becoming less involved in our home life. It was subtle at first, almost like a shift I couldn't put my finger on. She started wearing clothes that were a bit more revealing, and sometimes, I would come home to find she had spent hours getting ready for an evening out, yet she didn't seem excited to share her day with me. I didn't question it too much. I trusted her completely and never imagined she could be hiding anything. But the truth was, Maria was slowly drifting away from the person I thought she was. By the time we reached our 15th anniversary in 2013, things had changed. The long hours I spent in the military, sometimes months without returning home, had taken their toll on our marriage. I didn't notice how much she needed me until it was too late. I think the distance between us allowed her to seek validation from other men. The attention I had once given her, the compliments, the gestures, all became sporadic. I was too focused on the larger picture, on serving my country, managing my duties, and climbing the military ladder. She, on the other hand, was alone. It was at this point that I started hearing rumors, whispers about her interactions with certain men, how she would spend late nights out, and how she was constantly seen with someone named Baltasar in Ganga. But I brushed them aside. I didn't want to believe the possibility that she could betray me. In 2017, Maria became even more secretive. She would leave the house for long hours, claiming to visit friends or family, but I began to notice the pattern. I became suspicious. Little things changed. She started using her phone with more secrecy, always turning it away from me when I was nearby. She became dismissive when I asked about her day, as if she were hiding something. I started hearing her on the phone with Baltasar, and her voice was different, softer, more flirtatious than I had ever heard it. I confronted her once, but she denied everything. "You're just being paranoid," she said. "I'm just busy with friends." I wanted to believe her, so I did. But in my gut, I knew something wasn't right. The trust, the foundation of everything, had begun to crumble. In 2022, the affair with Baltasar became undeniable. One night, I came home early from a military trip. The house was quiet, and the lights were dim. I found Maria on the phone with someone. She didn't notice me at first. When she saw me, she froze. There was a panic in her eyes, and then she quickly hung up the phone. But it was too late. I had heard enough to know who was on the other end. It was Baltasar, the man who had been a shadow in our lives for so long. That night, I didn't speak much. I asked her about the call, but she didn't have an answer. I could see the guilt in her eyes. I knew then the affair was real. Confrontation and the end. The next few days were a blur. I demanded the truth, but all I got were weak excuses. Maria admitted to spending time with Baltasar, but insisted it was nothing serious. She said she was lonely, and that it was just a mistake, an escape from the pressures of our life. But to me, those were just words. I couldn't hear any more of her excuses. I shut her out emotionally and started looking for a way to end it. I couldn't live with someone who had betrayed me. She begged, she cried, she promised it would never happen again. But I couldn't believe her anymore. When I discovered the video of them together, when I saw them laughing and flirting in the hotel room, it was the final betrayal. The woman I had built my life with, the woman who had vowed to stand by me, had shared herself with a man like Baltasar in Ganga. That was a line I couldn't come back from. Looking back now, when I think about how we met all those years ago, it feels like another lifetime, a life I can barely remember. I remember a time when I thought Maria was my partner in everything, but now, I know that people can change, and sometimes the person you thought you knew was never who you thought they were. It was painful to let go of the woman I loved. But betrayal, and especially of this magnitude, leaves scars that never truly heal. I had to face the truth, and that truth was that she had already left me long before I found out. To my fellow men, here is the advice I can offer from the lessons I've learned, both from my military service and from personal experience. Never take loyalty for granted. Loyalty is the foundation of any relationship, whether with a wife, a friend, or a country. In the military, trust is everything. If you don't have the loyalty of those around you, you cannot succeed. The same applies to your personal life. Always pay attention to the small signs of disconnection in a relationship. Be present not just physically, but emotionally. Your wife or partner needs your attention, and the absence of that attention can create a void that others might try to fill. Guard your own integrity. You cannot control others, but you can always control your own actions. Stay true to your word, to your principles, and to your values. In my case, it was easy to get distracted by the demands of military duty. But a man who loses his sense of honor in any part of his life is bound to lose it in others as well. Never compromise your integrity for comfort, for convenience, or for anyone. Live with honor and expect that from others. If they cannot meet those standards, it is their loss, not yours. Trust, but verify. Trust is essential, but remember that trust is earned, not given freely. A man who trusts too easily can end up a fool. Observe actions more than words. People can lie, but actions will always reveal the truth. Follow your instincts. If something feels off, don't ignore it. There is a reason your gut is telling you to look deeper. Don't lose yourself in the pursuit of duty. As a man in the military, my duty came first, but this comes at a cost. In my case, I sacrificed time with my family, with my wife, thinking the work would secure our future. What I failed to realize was that the future is built in the present. Don't let your responsibilities overshadow the ones you love. Balance your time and attention. You cannot fix everything with money or power. Your presence and loyalty are what matter most. Know when to walk away. A man who does not know when to walk away from a toxic relationship will find himself trapped. Sometimes, it is not about winning or losing, it is about knowing your worth and walking away from situations that destroy your peace of mind. Never stay in a relationship out of fear, pity, or pride. If someone betrays you, they have shown you their true character. Respect yourself enough to let go and move on. Be careful who you surround yourself with. The company you keep is a reflection of your character. Just as Baltasar in Ganga's presence in my life proved to be a destructive force, so too can the wrong people influence your decisions. Choose friends, allies, and associates wisely. A man's circle should uplift him, not pull him down into negative habits or toxic environments. Understand your emotions, but don't let them control you. Anger, betrayal, sadness, these emotions are natural, but they can cloud judgment. In times of heartbreak and betrayal, take time to think before acting. A hasty decision can bring regret later. Channel your emotions into something constructive. Whether it's work, personal growth, or other relationships, find ways to use the pain to become a better man. Always respect yourself first. Respect is earned. You cannot demand it from others if you don't respect yourself. A man who lacks self-respect will accept anything, even betrayal, without standing his ground. Honor your own values. Stand firm in your principles, no matter the circumstances. In the end, we live in a world where loyalty, integrity, and self-respect are often tested. But the men who maintain their dignity in the face of adversity will emerge stronger. A man who does not let betrayal or failure define him is the one who will rise above. Never forget that true strength lies in knowing when to fight, when to walk away, and above all, when to protect your own peace.